But the next one, we're going to talk to Henry, him from Estonia, talking about since religious people are healthier and live longer, does promoting atheism moving people away from religion create more harm? That's an interesting argument. Can you put this argument in your own words? I want to make sure I'm understanding this properly.
Hello. So this was actually pretty much my question. Well, it has been established that religious people have healthier lives. They have longer lifespan, and among other things, they have more meaning in their life.
Okay, so what evidence do you have that religious people live longer?
Yeah, well, I Googled it, and all the results that came back from the search were saying that religion is good, science says. It was in Forbes, in CNN, and one of the more interesting articles was Wikipedia page about religion and health, and it says there that there have been thousands of studies on this topic. And
so did you look at the studies, or did you just look at the articles that were written about the supposed studies?
Yeah, I mostly looked at articles.
Okay, so are the articles? Do you think the articles are correct?
Yeah, I think they're correct because
you think they're correct, but you didn't read. But you didn't read the studies. So, what evidence do you have that religious people live longer? I'm kind of hung up on this point.
I also watched a video of a neuroscientist named Robert Sapolsky on YouTube, and it's a few-minute video, and he confirms the same thing. And he's
okay. Where's his data? What was his data? Did he cite some sources about where he pulled that from?
He's a neuroscientist, so I assume.
Yeah, so that doesn't mean that he's correct, right? People can be wrong, right, and still be an expert.
Well, he confirmed exactly the same thing that I found out to my.
So that's something that. Do you think? Okay, so you thought something, and then you went to the internet, which confirmed it. That's something we call a confirmation bias. So you had an idea, and then somebody else confirmed your idea, and they happen to be an expert. Does that mean that it's true?
Seems to me it's true. And
okay, so let's talk. Let's have a little chat about. Let's have a little chat about sources. So how do I? Let's say I wanted to say. Let's say Ivan brought up the alternative view. I said that atheists live longer than theists, and I learned that because I went to YouTube and I found a video. Is that a good source of information? Do you think that? Who do you think is right here? Me or you?
Well, if you found video and there is overwhelming results that come from your search.
Yeah, so let's say I found a video that said atheists live longer, and this came from a neuroscientist, I don't know, in the US somewhere. So I come with almost the same argument you brought. Which one of us is right?
I don't think you will find such video. I tried to find some that contradicts.
I'm not, but the point is, do you think if I had a video like that, if I had the same credentials of an expert making a totally opposite claim, do you think that because they're an expert that I would be right? Or do you think that I would need more to convince you that I was right?
Well, if you only find one expert and do nothing else, then that's questionable.
Yeah, so that's what you did, right?
I also looked other. As I said, I looked at the conclusions.
You looked at some news articles,
I Googled,
which are not studies,
and it says overwhelmingly the same thing that this expert says. So it's not just one video.
Adam, do you want to chime in before I go on a more of a rant about this?
I will take a slightly different approach and play with it. So let's assume that your source is right. Let's assume that yes, theists live longer than atheists. Does that make it true? I don't think so. Well, absolutely not. Imagine in an orphanage, for instance, where kids, we know that the data tells in the admin office that they all lost their parents and they don't have any mom and dad living. They're all dead. And in this orphanage, we split the kids into two groups: a group that we will convince them that their mom and dad are still living out somewhere and we're looking for them, and the other kids, we will tell them the truth that they don't have a mom and dad, they are complete orphans. Now, if that creates any change in behavior between the two groups, does that change anything in the fact that really out there are no moms and dads? Just planting a placebo effect may get someone to cope with the pain better than those who are not exposed to the placebo effect. How does that change anything for you,
Well,
Henry?
yeah. Of course, if a placebo effect helps them to cope with it better, then it's beneficial to them. And there has actually been experiments done.
So then, should we then push the placebo as an active ingredient, and we sell it as a medicine?
Yeah, if it works, then
because it
makes sense to use it.
Okay, so that is here. I can pass on the conversation to Ben from a medical background, because I still think that no, you shouldn't pass a placebo medicine as an active ingredient, actual medicine. That hinders the whole project of finding the truth.
So there are some conditions that can benefit from placebo, right? And then there are others where it's very dangerous to use a placebo. Like if you're having a heart attack and I give you this ingredient that's a placebo, even if the placebo effect is real for this case, is that ethical for me to give you a placebo knowing that you could very well die if it doesn't work?
Oh, well, religion has been developed by people over thousands of years, lots of iterations through trial and error, and it has taken a long time to optimize it. So we know it works.
So you're suggesting that religion is a placebo? Is that the argument I'm gathering?
Well, God definitely is, and a lot of other coping mechanisms.
Okay, so you're suggesting that God is a coping mechanism and a placebo, and that's why religious communities are living longer? Is that the argument? I want to make sure I'm getting this right.
Yeah, that's one of the things. There has been experiments made with kids where they have to throw a sticky ball over their heads from a certain distance, and everyone leaves the room so they can throw it. And
so even if religion makes for a good placebo, think about like which specific religion, or are we talking about all religions are equally useful for this?
I think some religions are better for some other things. So, for example, I think that Buddhism and Islam are better for physical health, and perhaps Christianity is better for cooperation.
So can I throw in something in the mix? Sorry, Ben.
Okay. Go for it.
Because if we're gonna go down the route of placebo, it's also very important to acknowledge. Okay, if we have this placebo tablet that we know for some people it kills the pain, and for some other people it causes a massive reaction and they can go fanatic and have a psychosis and go and kill everyone around them. So we know that the placebo can be very beneficial to some and can be very dangerous to some. Is it then ethical to give that placebo to everyone?
I think the data is there and it shows statistically significant benefits.
So here's
just because they live longer. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, but this was exactly my issue with using religion as a placebo, because we're seeing significant problems with people in religious communities, like especially with regard to women's rights, with regard to trans rights, gay rights. Many minority communities are suffering and are being killed for not complying with certain religious beliefs. So this isn't necessarily even comparable to a placebo, because if a placebo is something that does nothing, it has no reaction. We're seeing people harmed, actively harmed from religion. So we're in a situation here of, even if I granted that religion caused some benefit for some people, is that benefit worth the suffering that it's also causing to some people? And I think this is where Adam was getting at with that analogy, is that
Exactly.
this isn't benign. There are legitimate harms being caused by religion. So is the benefit of the placebo worth the harms that it's also doing?
So the benefit of religion must be greater than the harm, because there are something like 90% of people are.
But
Just-
what level
just
of
because it
harm?
make-
What level of harm is
Let me
acceptable
finish,
to
let
give
me
them a
finish,
placebo?
let me finish.
What? No, listen.
So-
What level of harm is acceptable? If you're going to say that the benefit's going to outweigh, how many trans people have to lose their health care? How many women have to be stripped of their reproductive rights for the placebo to have enough of a benefit?
So since 90% of people in the world are religious and 10% are atheists, then this means that religion must give the advantage to over.
No, that's not at all how statistics. No. Okay, so if a whole group of people, if the majority of a group of people decided they wanted to do something, and 10% didn't want to do that thing, that does not mean that it was a smart decision. Like if a whole, I'm sure maybe you've heard this expression before, but like if all your friends were going to jump off a cliff, would you go with them? Like, just because the whole group collectively tries to do something does not mean that they're right.
Well,
Right?
over lots
Can I-
of generations, so there is this trait that got selected for some
Henry, can
reason.
I give you a specific example here, specifically from the region that I came from? So let's say the believers, 90% of the believers will live significantly longer, okay? But then at the same time, I will take Islam as an example here, because I came from Egypt originally. Now, those believers believe that the non-believers are apostates and should be killed. Now, do you think that it is the right thing to, well, keep Islam because it gives significantly longer? If you're going to base your moral decision based on one piece of the statistics, ignoring everything else, then you're going to be misled for sure, because you keep focusing on one piece of the statistics that says that yes, that placebo or that religion makes believer live longer, but you need to consider the other part of the equation, where those believer who will believe who will live longer, they also have the tendency to kill everyone who is an infidel or an apostate or an unbeliever. How does that then make leaving the religion the moral action or the right action to, well, let it spread? It gives people longer lives.
So killing the apostates, this trait also must have been selected at some point. So I have a hypothesis that perhaps people who didn't kill strangers, they got killed by the strangers. So there's some sort of a disgust against different people, like deep down inside of us.
I'm confused. Hold on. So you said something, and I don't know if there's a language barrier here that's making this difficult, but you were saying that this trait of believing that you should kill the apostates is something that was selected for. It sounds like you're trying to make an argument from evolution about this decision to believe in a religion and kill people is selected through evolution. And I don't think this is an honest comparison. This is a choice. Like, well, I guess your belief necessarily isn't a choice, but your choice to kill people is a choice. It's not a trait that is passed down. Your religion is not a trait. It's a custom, but it's not a trait that's being passed down. So,
well, it is passed down. It's passed down in memes instead of genes.
Yeah, I'm gonna disagree with you on that particular point, but I don't know if this conversation is really going anywhere. So I think, do you have any other thoughts? We can.
Yeah, I have. I wanted to talk about the experiment that was done with kids when they where they're throwing balls at the target.
Okay, I'll let you say your analogy, and then we're getting really close to the end of the show. So I think
sure.
I'll let you make this point because you had tried to make it earlier, but we might not have time to really address it for today.
Yeah, okay, no worries. So there's been this experiment that has been repeated lots of times, where kids are left in the room to throw a sticky ball at the target from a distance over their head, so it's very difficult to hit. And if everybody leaves the room, then kids usually try to cheat and they just go and put the ball at the target just to get the prize. But the other group of kids, they were told that there's this invisible princess watching everything that you're doing, and kids didn't cheat. So that's when comes in.
So they lied to children, and the ones that were lied to about Big Brother watching them were too scared to cheat, and the ones that didn't have Big Brother watching them weren't too scared to cheat. I don't know how this is really relevant to what we were talking about, but I mean, maybe call in again next week and bring that up, and that can be another discussion topic.
Yeah, no worries. Okay, bye.
Yeah, thanks for calling in.